Good morning and welcome to Urban Agoge, day 3, week 10. Awesome. So I know I said I'd do running today, but what I did the other day, on Monday, so I left 2 days for it to dry. I don't have a tumble dryer. I try and use air drying wherever possible. I washed my trainers and my tracksuit bottoms, and wow, this is why you come out to the woods every day. That's really mad. Yeah, fallen tree. Yeah. That's pretty incredible. Let's give you a better view of that. Well, that fell over last night or yesterday. The whole tree's come down. Just makes everything a bit more interesting. Yeah. So I washed them and they're not dry yet. I don't really fancy trying to run in wet sneakers or wet running shoes. I guess they're more running shoes than sneakers. Yeah. This is why you should come out to the woods near you every day. Yeah, so obviously it was that tree's time. So yeah, I'm off for another wander in the woods. I'm not shooting facing me today because I thought it'd be nice for you guys to check out what I'm seeing instead. Water levels return to normal. Yeah, so this is your virtual woodland wander. And I've got the gimbal set up to all follow. So if I point the camera at something, it does a very slow pan around. I mean, obviously I'm moving the stick here, but what it's doing is it's interpreting my movement of the gimbal and slowing down that movement and making it more graceful, which is nice. I wonder if Stanley Kubrick could have imagined the the insane drop-in cost of the Steadicam when he was shooting The Shining. I mean, that was in the 60s, 1969, I think, The Shining. But yeah, but it was revolutionary technology then, so let's call it 1970. So 50 years ago the Steadicam was invented, and then no change in how insane amount of cost it was until very recently. I mean, a year ago gimbals were super expensive accessories, and now 60 quid. You know, about $70-80. But essentially, when you add it to a high definition camera, oh, look at that. There's a heron. They look like pterodactyls when they fly. See, this is why, you know, get out into the woods. Let's see if we can go check out that heron. It's obviously after the trout. Maybe we can get a bit closer. And I've done this walk several times, but it's always with the camera facing me. So yeah, you know, as anybody that knows me, knows, I am fascinated with how inexpensive technology becomes over time. And all the things it allows you to do, all the bonuses for being technologically well equipped. Oh, I hate this muddy bit. Look, this is really muddy. I just don't really want to trip over with the gimbal. I mean, the good thing is that the gimbal's on a much longer arm, because ages ago I saw this collapsible boom pole, and it's not the best boom pole in the world, and it was definitely second hand. It's partially broken. I probably need to pay more attention to where I'm putting my feet as I come to another slippery bit. There's all sorts of slippery bits and drops over here, which probably makes it not the best route to take through the woods, but you never know. So yes. Yeah. So according to the weather forecast, it's going to brighten up and dry out over the next few weeks, which is good news for the Oldham Way adventure, which I'm going to try and get edited and put together this week, as well as running off the maps and stuff like that. Let's see if we can spot that heron. Yeah, so I am obsessed with cheap technology, kind of, in the, you know, all the things it allows you to do. And I've been looking to doing as mad an upgrade as I can to I can't see the heron. To the Lenovo X30, which is an astonishingly cheap machine, and you can get them for almost nothing. I've certainly seen them on eBay recently. Oh, this is bad. Hold on. For as little as £75, but that would require a certain amount of upgrading. So yeah, so definitely for under £100 you can get a Lenovo X30. The reason I like them, as I've gone on about numerous times, possibly even on this channel, is that they are very upgradable. They were designed to be upgraded. They were designed to be easy to fix. The parts for them are astonishingly cheap, and they're nice and compact, so they'll fit in most rucksacks. You can upgrade them up to 16 gig of RAM, which seems to be pretty much okay for video editing and stuff like that at the moment, at least 1080p video editing. And yeah, they do the job. They're not a gaming machine by any means, but they're quite a useful productivity machine. I wonder how far I've been along this track. I think I've been all the way to the end of this. So yeah, So I'm thinking about doing an upgrade. Zoo Echoes messaged me about a week ago talking about an M-SATA upgrade. An M-SATA is a kind of internal hard drive that is an SSD, a solid state drive, so there's no moving parts, and any SSD will improve the speed of your PC, especially in boot times and stuff like that. So I'm thinking of splashing out a bit of money in a couple of months to fully upgrade one of my X230s to illustrate how it can be done. And if, you know, the thing I like about the X230 is you can pick up a 4 gig one for about £75. You can get spare batteries for it really easily, spare power supplies. You could spend some money upgrading it to 16 gig of RAM and then put one of these SSDs in, and you could probably upgrade it to around a gigabyte's worth of ducks and clumsy pigeons. More clumsy pigeons? Yeah. So yeah. So you know, so you could upgrade it to 1 gigabyte of storage, which isn't bad for a laptop, for about 80 quid. You probably get it up to 16 gig of RAM for another 30. So you're looking at like 200 quid for a 16 gig solidly repairable and upgradable laptop that's designed to have all the parts swapped out for about 200 quid, which is great. So yeah. And, you know, as anybody that listens to me ramble on about them knows, that you can get really nice base and docking stations for them, which have got lots of extra USB ports, audio ports and all that sort of gubbins. So yeah, I'm thinking of upgrading my primary machine to handle at least 750 gigabytes and get it up to like a terabyte of storage, maybe 750 gigabytes, because I've already got a 250 gigabyte SSD main drive. So if I got a 500 gig SATA drive, that would be cool. So yeah, but it got me to thinking, you know, about all the bits and bobs of technology that I do have access to. And I've got like just racks and racks of, you know, cheap tech that I've tinkered with and then put to one side and been obsessed by the new thing. So I definitely want to showcase some technology. It might be on a different channel, although there might be points at which certain, oh, it's getting a bit Jurassic now. There might be a point at which I just put them on the Urban Agoge thing for, you know, equipment. I don't know if anybody wants to see that, and that's what comments are for. But yeah, nobody really focuses on working class technology, and when I heard about the launch of the Raspberry Pi, you know, the new Raspberry Pi 4, I was intrigued. Oh, I have to stop here. Oh, so yeah, I will always try and switch off the recording if there's people. No consent for filming. So yeah, where was I before being jumped up and barked at by a frightened dog? But yeah, so when you look at the Raspberry Pi 4, and it does seem like a good deal, and they're certainly very compact, but that's probably its only advantage. And you've still got to attach a screen, a keyboard, a mouse, you know, all sorts of other bits to it. It's very pleasant. Which would take it, you know, if you bought the 4 gig version at 55 quid, bought yourself a monitor, best guess, you know, another tenner. Keyboard and mouse, probably another tenner after that. So you're already looking at 75 quid, plus the power supply, which you now have to buy for the Raspberry Pi 4, You can't just use an old phone supply. That puts you in, you know, oh, plus the micro SD card. I have not been this far in these woods yet. This is new territory. So yeah, you're probably well over 100 quid. And personally, for that, you could buy an X30 with its much more powerful i5 processor and dedicated graphics processing for about 75 quid. So yeah, so I'd rather have the X230 than another Raspberry Pi. What was that? Probably only a bird. Yeah. So yeah, so I kind of get into, I mean, I could probably save up and buy a much nicer laptop, but I don't think there's anything at that price point that's as good. Oh, I love unmessed with forest. So yeah, so there's all kinds of technology, from cheap projectors and stuff like that. And I've got a low-res projector that I still haven't made use of. So yeah, my lounge has a fairly decent stereo in it. I wonder if I can create a situation where I can make use of that. So I guess what I'm really saying is, you know, if you're a nerd like me, you've probably got boxes and boxes of usable tech. You know, maybe a thing with Urban Agoge needs to be a consolidate and build your technology up. You know, I think everybody should have access, and you can have access to a reasonably good laptop if you're prepared to go second hand. You can have access to a laser printer. Wow. I've no idea where the path's meant to be. I'm going to go a little bit further along here. I don't really want to climb that hill. But yeah, it's pretty closed in now, especially if I want to be thing. So that's a little bit of a woodland wander for you. So yeah, I'm going to switch back to a face view so it's not so weird. This has got like about a 700-degree turn, and I can never remember where the turn is. So yeah, there's me. Sorry about that. So yeah, so I won't be looking at the camera a lot because it's very slippery underfoot. So yeah, so if yeah, so nobody ever reviews, you know, nobody ever says, right, as of this date, you know, your best sub £100 chunk of technology. And I think there should be and there don't seem to be, maybe I'm wrong, I could be utterly wrong, but people want to review technology that costs an absolute fortune. And, you know, it's stuff I'm never going to buy. But the chances are, with, you know, rapidly changing standards and, you know, the unfortunate need of humanity to sort of like get to a point where it's, you know, constantly upgrading, you're constantly buying a new phone, you're constantly getting a new laptop, and people just make these assumptions about laptops that they need to upgrade. You know, if the laptop they find it's perceptibly slowing down, then that's it, the laptop needs to be upgraded. You know, when their child needs a laptop for college, they instantly assume that's £1,000 they've got to lay out to buy a new laptop for their kids. You know, and nobody wants to do working class tech. You know, nobody wants to review, you know, the technology that's £100 or less. Nobody wants to review anything like that. And I don't mean, you know, an add-on for a mobile phone. The mobile phone shouldn't cost £100. You know, the laptop shouldn't cost £100. You know, we need a culture of, you know, stainless steel rats. You know, look in the garbage. Look at what humanity throws away on a regular basis. You know, how many working laptops are in landfill right now? This is why places like Cash Converters and eBay are so good, because you get companies that will buy 100 laptops from another company and sell them cheap on eBay. And I think it's really good. I think we should start taking advantage of it. I mean, 16 gig of RAM and an i5 processor is a pretty good package. And if you don't think it is, then you're doing it wrong. You know, maybe in 5 years' time there'll be cheap, similarly priced bits of tech with 32 gig of RAM that are just as cheap comparatively. Whoop, that is the problem with this cable. Oh, it'd be nice to get a good quality wireless microphone, but I've got one, but it would be more bulky. Wireless mics need radio pickups and receivers, and they're good if you're away from them, from the camera, or where you're recording the sound to. Maybe. But I think the last time I tried to sync up my voice recorder with the new camera, it didn't go too well. So yeah. But it has to be said, a bit good on you, Firefly, because the lavalier microphone you included is pretty good quality. There's no burrs or hums or rattles or anything like that, and it's good and close up. Nothing wrong with it, except I don't just, you know, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. You know, if you lose it or drop it or break it, then you don't have a microphone. And the onboard microphone for the Firefly 8SE, while it's a bit better than my other action camera, which is terrible, it's still not good. And I learned very early on that sound quality is pretty much everything. So yeah. So I'm very into, you know, reasonably cheap technology that people, you know, your average person can afford. And yes, probably something like the Firefly 8SE camera was more than I would splash out on for an action camera. I mean, I literally have that because it was the best camera at the best price point that you can get, really. You know, as a new buy. I haven't seen any second-hand, they haven't been out long enough for people to get bored, but I'm sure in a year or so there will be a new Firefly model that will be so much better that the 8SE goes on sale. So keep your eyes open for that, because I think it is a truly excellent action camera. Whoa! When you can't see your feet, you can't see the mud. So yeah. So let me know what you think, as always. That's what comments are for. You know, but I do intend to follow Zoo Echo's recommendation and look out for a cheapish M SATA drive. Maybe. It's probably not going to be this coming month, but certainly sometime like August, I may well splash the cash and see what, you know, whether there's an option for, especially for something like the X230, putting a terabyte on it, all in SSDs, and see what the performance jump is like. I'm pretty sure that it will boot really amazingly fast. But also it'd be an interesting review, because both M-SATA and the standard SATA SSDs, the price point for 500 gig is about the same. So within 80 quid, I can put a terabyte, or if I haven't got that as much money next month as I might have, it might be, you know, whoa, buy a 500 gig M-SATA. And on the X230 it mounts underneath the keyboard. There's a space underneath the keyboard for an M-SATA drive, which is interesting. Wow, it's so slippery. I guess it hasn't got a lot of sun. It'll be a week or so before this is truly dried out. So yeah, I am rambling on at length. But that's why I like the IBM X series. They've all got M-SATA ports. They're all very upgradable and designed to be. You know, they were designed to have a lot of options depending on what people wanted to do. I've gone the wrong way. But yeah. And you know, I just think there are certain points in time where technology coalesces and is good, where you've got a good combination of repairability and upgradability. I'm going to have to go through the mud. Don't want to do that, but not much choice. Otherwise it was clambering up that slope and I didn't fancy that. So yeah, you know, like the Canon T3i, I think if you're going to buy a DSLR, the Canon T3i with Magic Lantern on it is one of the best combinations of DSLR that currently exists. Fair enough, it only films at 1080p, but you know, unless you've got many hours to spare and an incredible amount of hard drive storage, and you don't mind waiting hours for it to render and upload, then great. But I've been looking at the Google Analytics and most people are watching these videos on their phone. You know, other people are watching them on their laptops. Very few people are watching them on their televisions. If you are, then I'm sorry, it could be better. But your chances of spotting the difference between 1080p and 4K, if you're sitting 6 feet from your TV screen, is currently pretty low. You know, 4K is a higher resolution than the human eye. So I've never really understood it. I mean, it's only if you're going to really blow it up to like cinema screen size, you know, like 20 or 30 feet across, that you're really going to notice the difference. So yeah. So I'm going to keep filming in 1080p. Computer processing power may well increase. It may get silly in the next few years. Wow, the mud. The mud! But yeah. So, yeah, I guess it's all... By which time 4K cameras, when 8K comes in and people are obsessed with that, 4K cameras are going to be cheaper still. So, I definitely think it's worth it for patience. I think aiming for 200 quid or about $250 is good for a laptop. And I think the best bang for buck is always going to be something like an i5 processor at the moment. Maybe soon it will be an i7, and 16 gig of RAM and SSD hard drives. And that's totally achievable under 200 quid, which is, you know, ooh, there's always a falling over. I thought I'd avoided it this time. But yeah, and I think for camera setups, this one's pretty perfect. This one that you guys bought me, you know, where you've got, I've got a potentially 4K camera, I've got a gimbal, and before this week is out, I'll have the best, most affordable microphone on the planet, apparently, because I couldn't tell the difference between the Purple Panda and the Rode Pro Lavalier mic. So yeah. on the audio test, but there again, that's YouTube uploading. You could possibly find a difference, but the difference between £23 and £200 is pretty massive. So that would make this whole setup would be still under £200. So if you wanted to vlog and you already got a fairly decent editing laptop and you want to do exterior shots with a nice steady cam feel to them, because I'm telling you, the jump in quality between 2 or 3 weeks ago and now is pretty impressive. And it's a lot more fun to shoot knowing that the quality's good. So yeah, having said that, I've just seen a smudge on the lens. Let me just do a t-shirt clean on the lens. So yeah, so I would say this is a good vlogging setup. Nice audio, steady camera, good quality camera, great colour matching and stuff. I'm super happy with it. And if I'd known it was going to be this good, I'd have saved up some money sooner. But yeah, do your research. And almost all of it fits inside even when I'm using the voice recorder, which I'm not today. And I may not. I think there is a level of interest with having the voice recorder there. I think it's a useful addition, so you can see that the sound's going in and you know you've got at least one audio record, even if you have to then patch it up. But there's all sorts of interesting things on the iSteady Pro, like you've got a camera charging port. So I've got myself a little mini USB, because it's a mini USB charging port that's behind the gimbal head that you can use to charge up your camera. I wonder if you can get a mini USB to mini USB cable. That would be handy. But then if you are charging it, you can't have external audio. You're back to the audio on the camera itself. It's the built-in microphone. But, you know, it's a bit of a quibble. There's also a standard USB charging port, so you could probably run that instead with just a standard USB cable. But you could potentially charge two things at once, which is handy. I just like it. It's simple controls. And then I can do something like this, which is an automatic return to standard on a little trigger on the front of the iSteady Pro, which is nice. So yeah, that's the end of my ramble. We're coming to the end of the enclosed bit of woodland. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed me rambling on about affordable technology. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Do take care.